Good morning, good morning. Hey, family. Greetings and good morning. This is Coach Shawnee coming to you live from South Ozone Park, Queens, New York. And I am grateful to be here. Good morning. How are you? Just encouraging. Wonderful. I'm glad to hear it. Just encouraging everyone, if you can, to grab some water so that you can hydrate. I know it's early in the morning. Water might come in the form of tea or a smoothie, just something to hydrate while you're up in this space. Grateful to be in this conversation inside of the topic, the subject matter, the theme, birthing with gravity. And there's a lot to this, everyone. So I look forward to exploring with all of you and learning, as well as sharing, teaching and learning and co-creating and experiencing reciprocity as only the Wake Up Everybody community can bring. I'm going to encourage you to reach out to folks that are part of this community who are not present in this moment. We have 12 people in the space, 3 of which are admin, myself, Kinyofu, and Tiffany. So inviting you to invite others to join us if they're part of this community, and then also to join us if they are not. Send an invitation, because we were all born. There's conversation to be had about our birthing experiences, and we deserve to have these conversations. So let's get it and hit it.
Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Stay woke, stay woke, stay woke. It's time to get up. Stay woke, stay woke, stay woke. It's time to get up. We're healing, we're dealing, we're growing. Together, together, releasing. We're teaching, we're moving. Together, together, we're learning, discerning. We're striving. Together, together, we're leading, connecting, transforming. Together, together.
Good morning, everyone. This is Coach Shawnee Benton Gibson coming to you live from South Ozone Park, New York. Looking forward to having a powerful and generative conversation from the subject matter of birthing with gravity. So most of you know that my work in the world consists of coaching, counseling, teaching, and my purpose on the planet. Some of you may have never heard me say this before, so I'm going to say it for the first time today for some, or for the 51st time for others, that my purpose in the world is to utilize the word in all forms to ignite mind, body, and spirit transformation across the planet. And I do that with intentionality, with pride, with vigor, and with joy. And so definitely want to engage in a process of igniting transformation, of creating the space for us to think outside of the box, for us to remember experiences in this lifetime that give us access to quality of life, give us agency and authority in reference to our own journeys. So as we talk about birthing with gravity, we get an opportunity to do all of that, to experience all of that, but it is a choosing. And I want you to know that today's conversation is about choice. The choice to tell your story, the choice to engage in community, the choice to tap into the muscle that you have as an advocate and an activist, because we all have a little bit of that in us. And so just want to acknowledge you for being here this morning. And if you have been in sessions with me and Wake Up in the past, you know, I'm always asking for us to take the leap by extending an invitation. My work is about invitation and manifestation every day. I'm always reaching out to people, inviting them to things, inviting them to new thoughts, new ways of being. And so I'm inviting you to invite others to be in this space, your cousins, your aunties, your uncles, your friends, your neighbors. If you have their number, you can forward the information about this session, and you can invite them to jump in, send them the link, because we all need to be in conversations, especially if we identify as BIPOC, which is a shorthand for Black, Indigenous, people of color. If you're identify as someone that's part of that group or those groups, we need to be in conversations about our birthing experiences and the gravity or the lack thereof in them. So I'm inviting you to invite others to come in this morning and to release the story that it's too early, that they don't want to be bothered, that this is not the conversation for them. If you came from a womb, WOMB, this is a conversation for you. If you have a womb, this is a conversation for you. If you had a womb, because some folks have experienced surgeries or different physical challenges with their bodies, and may not have a womb physically anymore, but has had one in reference to your body and how you were born and how you evolved over time, then this is a conversation for you. If you know someone with a womb, then this is a conversation for you. So please invite, please invite, please invite. And I'll say this throughout, as I always do. So don't ask surprised, release the triggers, receive the invitation or not, but it's there for you. And I'm committed to manifesting more guests and more participants in this conversation and more community. So I'm going to invite the admin team, Kinyofu specifically, to put up the first slide so that we can set the foundation for this session. Once again, something that I always do when I'm able, when I'm engaging with community, which is to create gravity. And once again, we're going to unpack what that means as far as this theme today, birthing with gravity. So here you see on the left-hand side, wombs create worlds. And that woman, that beautiful woman, is my cousin, Cheryl, when she was pregnant with her first child. My nephew, my baby cousin, Shamir, and she's since had another baby girl, and she has a daughter, Cheyenne, who's months old. And so I have her picture here because inside of the conversation, Birthing with Gravity, she is one of the people that comes up for me because she experienced multiple losses, I think ectopic pregnancies, miscarriages, before she brought these two babies into the world. And my belief, and she'll probably attest to it, maybe not using the same language, is that she restored gravity to her mind, body, and spirit so that she could bring new life into the world and actually manifest her children. And once again, we'll talk more about that in our journeys around the challenges of bringing life into the world if you identify as Black, Indigenous, or a person of color. So we're going to do an opening ritual just to ground ourselves. And so if you believe that you're the eldest in this space, and I thank you for inviting folks, I see that there are new names in this space. So thank you, whomever that is, that invited somebody new into the space to engage in the conversation. So if you identify as an elder in the space and you believe that you might be the eldest in the space, I think I know who it may be. I would love for you to come off mute and to grant us, me, the community, with permission to continue the session. So I need permission from the elder in this space to continue the session. So who might that be? Just unmute and just say, whether you desire to give permission for that. 70 and up in the space. Do we have,
77. This is Abimbola.
thank you, Abimbola. Love you,
Permission
woman. Love you.
granted.
Love you.
Permission granted.
Yes, thank you. All right. And I'm going to take a moment to do a land acknowledgement. And for those who are not familiar with the terminology, Indigenous folk, First Nation folk, Native Americans have a practice of engaging in land acknowledgement, a form of ritual that celebrates the land and acknowledges the power that it possesses so that we can move forward and do what it is that we choose to do in this sacred space called land, called earth, called the world, right? Planet Earth is a powerful, powerful energy entity suspended in space, beautiful to look at from the pictures that I've seen. And here we are living, working, and playing on it. So I acknowledge the land as a powerful entity and energy. I acknowledge the land that allows us to grow sustenance for our survival. I acknowledge the land that our ancestors have toiled on, that our ancestors have bled into, whether it's through death or through menstrual flow, or accidents as we ran and jumped and leaped and scraped ourselves, because our skin is, and these bodies are precious and powerful, but they're also delicate and fragile in some ways. So we've bled into the land. I acknowledge the land that has allowed us to build on top of it so that we can be housed and held. I acknowledge the land for its patience with us and its impatience with us. I acknowledge the land and its desire to be healed due to our negligence. So speaking life to all of those who have come before us that have created the space for us to be on these lands and live the lives that we live. I also salute the ancestors. I acknowledge them, all the wombs that were inside of wombs, that were inside of wombs, that were inside of wombs that allowed us to be birthed for such a time as this. I acknowledge the ancestors that are part of our clans and represent all of these families that are in this space right now. I acknowledge the ancestors who have recently crossed over in our communities, and I acknowledge those who died centuries ago, because their energies, as long as we are aligned with them, are present in this sacred space. So please drop the names of the ancestors that you want to acknowledge in this space today so we can unpack the conversation of birthing with gravity. So drop the names in, and I'll call on a few. I call in the name of my grandmother, Joyce, who raised me, Joyce Benton, James Benton, her husband, John Morgan Sr., my father's father, Ruth Morgan, my father's mother. I call on the name of Margaret, my grandfather's mother, or my great grandmother, Cheney, my maternal great grandmother, and Trellis, my maternal great great grandmother, and Grandma Finney, my great great grandmother, Trellis's mother. I call on the names of Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth, Frederick Douglass, and Benjamin Banneker. I call on the names of those who have been forgotten. I don't know the names, but I know you existed. Those who died unceremoniously. I call on their names. I call on their names, and I invite you to do the same. And so thank you for creating sacred space. We invite the ancestors in to support this conversation, and I encourage you to continue to invite those who would benefit from being in a conversation about birthing and life and legacy into the space as well. I ask that you partner with me so that we can create a healthy and robust conversation about our birthing experiences. Whether we've given birth or not, we are connected to the birthing process, the menstrual flow, the warrior women and birthing people who have created life, co-created life, pushed out life, sweat, yelled, gritted their teeth, and allowed it to come through and come in. And so we can move forward to the next slide. So face rights, please drop in your name. Even if your name is in the Zoom space, there's something about energizing it by typing it in and putting it into the space. Drop your mother's name into the chat. My name is Shawnee Renee Trellis Benton Gibson. My mother's name is Jill, and I dwelled in her womb space past the term of the declared day of my birth. I was what they call overdue. When was I born? I was born on October 1st, 1968 in Queens, New York. Where was I born? I just shared in a word or phrase that defines gravity. So my word that defines gravity is groundedness. Groundedness. So drop these shares in the chat, and then I will call on some names so that you can share as well, or you can raise your digital hands and you can share as well in the space. And remember to keep inviting folks to join us in this sacred space this morning so that we can engage in a conversation that's ancient and old. Birthing has been talked about for eons in different ways, especially by those who identify as women. It's part of a sacred process. So we're just reactivating ritual in this space. We're reactivating culture in this space. We're reactivating age-old practices. So drop in the shares, and then I'm going to ask Kinyofu if you can call on folks to share in the space what the responses are to the face rights activity. Kinyofu, you got it?
Chef.
All right.
I'm checking the chat.
Thank you.
All right, so Catherine is starting us off with, my name is Catherine Mbali Green Johnson, the daughter of Sarah, who is the daughter of Annie, who is the daughter of Josephine, who is the daughter of... I was born in Brooklyn, New York, 1976.
Sure.
Marin Perez says, I am Marilyn. My mother is Milagros, which means miracle in Spanish. I was born in Puerto Rico, December of '84. Alicia McCoy says, greetings all. Okay, so that's not, yep, okay. Alicia, mom's name, Faith, 6/11/84 in Georgetown, Guyana.
Ashe. Who else? What else we got?
I'm typing mine in.
Oh, okay. And I see some being dropped in, so I'll help out. And I want to hear some gravity words too. I hear and see the information about our birth dates and locations, all that good stuff. But I definitely want to experience the co-creation of gravity. So I see Catherine said gravity is sovereignty. I want to hear more about that. Jacqueline, the last part. So we're sharing our names, our mother's names. We're sharing where and when we were born, and a word or phrase to define gravity. Laura, thank you for being here. Born in Jamaica, in the Caribbean. Niger Nicole Wilson, born on July 17th, 1970. To Marsha in Brooklyn, New York, Ashe, born on time. Love that you said that. And what does that born on time mean, right? And gravity for her is presence. Powerful. I see some new names in the space. Thank you for inviting folks. I'm declaring that we're going to have 50 plus people in this space before this session is done. Veronica, my name is Veronica Curtin Johnson. I was born in Brooklyn, New York. My mother's name is Marion, whose mother's name was Eleonora Ramazar, the daughter of Ma Perry, the healer. Thank you. Grace is the word that defines me. But what word defines gravity? I say grace also defines gravity, and we'll talk more about why I think that. And Laura says she was born on January 4th, 1955. All right, come through, Capricorn, come through. Monica, my beloved Monica, shared that she's the daughter of Mama Sarah, my love. Both of them are two of my loves. Gravity equals rootedness for Monica. And Monica, I believe you were born in Brooklyn, New York. Forgive me, you know I'm 54, so don't hold it against me.
I got this. I get it from here if you want, Shawnee.
Okay, go ahead, love. Mhm,
Are you at Frederica?
mhm.
Okay, Frederica Barton, adopted mother, Lily Barton, born July 17th, 1964, born in Hempstead, New York. Hope is my word.
Ashe, yes. Her word for gravity?
Yes, what is hope?
Okay, yeah, I just want to make sure because some people were saying that their word is X, Y, and Z. All
Oh,
right, keep it
well,
coming. Go ahead.
I am assuming, so Frederica can make corrections if it's otherwise.
All right, and we'll take it. Like, I love that whatever you're saying, if it's about you, it's about gravity itself, it all has gravity and weight to it. So Kinyofu, if you could put up the next slide, I'm going to move forward with unpacking this conversation. And once again, invite friends and family into the space. We are at 27, not too far from 50, which is the goal or the foundation. I'm over here inviting people and creating gravity in the form of community by bringing more numbers into this space because there's a lot to talk about and all of us are connected to this powerful conversation. So I'm going to ask someone if you could read what is on this slide this morning. Anybody want to volunteer to co-create with me? You can unmute yourself, jump in, family.
Gravity, an invisible force that attracts a body or an object having mass towards the center of the earth. It is also described sometimes that is of extreme importance. When we are birthing with gravity, we are fully covered, aligned, and grounded in our power.
All
The
right,
earth,
I'm sorry, hold on one sec. I just want to go back to the
sure, go back.
definition. So I
Mhm.
want to go back to the second part of the definition. It also describes something that is of extreme importance, the gravity of a matter. So today I'm talking about gravity as this concept that keeps us anchored and tethered to the earth. And then also I'm talking about gravity as it relates to the Black maternal health crisis in the United States and abroad, which is something that is of extreme importance to each of us in this space, whether you identify as a person of color or Black or Indigenous, or you identify as a human being, you identify as woman, however you identify. This is a subject matter of extreme importance. And the quote is a quote that was given to me by Spirit. When we are birthing with gravity, we are fully covered, aligned, and grounded in our power. So before you move on, Veronica, I would love to hear from you the definition and the quote that I shared that was given. And thank you, community. We're at 31. 20 more or 19 more to go to 50. So let's manifest this. Let's create gravity in the form of more community. And then Kinyofu, you can let me know, or Tiffany, how many people are in Facebook. We know Monica is there. So who else is on Facebook so we can count them in the number? So Veronica, what comes up for you when you look at this and think about the subject matter for today, which is birthing with gravity?
What comes up for me is the feeling that I am grounded and pulled towards the center. Gravity feels like, well, we learned in school that it's what kept us grounded to the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a pulling for me. It feels as though I'm being pulled towards the center of the earth.
Got that. Thank you so much.
You're
Thank you for the 11 participants on Facebook. And Facebookers, invite others to join. You can tag folks. We want as many people as possible in this conversation. And I keep repeating that because there's somebody that needs to hear this, and they won't be here if we don't extend invitation. And in my work as a coach, a counselor, a healer, I'm big on teaching the technology of invitation and manifestation. Sometimes we don't transform a circumstance that's low vibrational because we don't extend an invitation first to ourselves to go there and then also to others. so that we can manifest outcomes that are meaningful and transformational. So I invite you to activate your invitation power so that you can engage your manifestation power, because we all have it. And once again, this conversation about our birthing experiences with or without gravity is an invitation to really look, explore, tell our stories, and transform outcomes for those who are not even born yet. All right, so moving forward, just pausing a minute, Veronica, to invite others in. Who is willing to talk about the definition of gravity here that I've presented, and then also the quote that accompanies the definition? Other than Veronica, she just set us off in a really great way. So who else has something to say? And Kyo, if you can, feel free to call on somebody. You know how we do in this space.
Okay. I see Tanine came off. Rukia is off also.
All right, awesome. Let's hear from you. Tanine, you wanted to say something?
I came off by accident, but I am reading it.
All right.
So I just need a minute. I do want to share.
Okay, how about you, Rukia? Was okay, she just came off of mute. All right, so calling on Alicia. Alicia McCoy?
Alicia, yeah.
Alicia.
Mhm. Come on, y'all. Y'all better wake up. Don't make me work so hard.
All right. Laura.
Yeah. Good
Ah, there you
morning.
go.
Good morning.
Morning,
Let me
darling.
stop jumping on my rebounder. Yeah, what is coming? Thank you for this opportunity, and greetings, everyone. What is coming up for me is energy, spirit, interconnection to all the elements, the earth, the water, the fire. You know, it's just like spirit. That is what is speaking to me, is what's keeping us grounded to all the elements, to Mother Earth, is spirit. That is what is coming up for me. It's all spirit, it's all energy.
Beautiful.
With that, I'm complete. Thank you.
Thank you. Received. Who else? Janine, were you able to read and get grounded in what is on the slide?
I am almost there.
Girl, what's taking you so long? Usually on it.
Because I'm like, I'm really analyzing this.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. I need one more minute. I'm
All right.
analyzing it because it's deep, you know.
Ashe. All right. Anyone else want to tap in? Otherwise, Veronica and I are going to carry on. And thank y'all. There are 33 people in the space. Let's get to 17 more in the Zoom space. All right, let's carry on. Veronica, if you can continue to read.
Sure. The earth and every living thing that inhabits it operates within the powerful force of.
Unmute yourself, Veronica.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
The earth and every living thing that inhabits it operates within the powerful force of gravity. Gravity is a grounding energy that supports the movement, balance, and flow of our bodies. Gravity has always been there and will always be there. It held us close as we were suspended in the center of our mother's wombs. And it ushered us through the sacred gateway on the day that we were born.
Sure. Thank you. And I want to just make an edit. Not all of us came through the gateway, meaning the birth canal. Some of us were born by C-section. And so if you know you were born by C-section, drop that in the chat, because I want to make sure I make the distinction. However, if you emerged from the womb, whether it was by C-section or you came through the canal, you are here, and gravity supported that. Gravity is an anchor, right? It's an energy. It's like, I'm blown away by it. So when Spirit dropped in this theme, because I'm doing a conference this October at the end of the month when Spirit gave me this as a theme, and it got birthed through me going to a decolonizing midwifery summit that was hosted by Black Women's Blueprint. So shout out to Savannah and Farah from Black Women's Blueprint. At that convening, there was a midwife who presented about how folks who identify as women or birthing people bring new life into the world. And she emphasized that gravity is the supporting factor. And I just started to think about and become sad about the fact that in the United States, women and birthing people are strapped down to beds, hooked up to monitors, given drugs or medications to push their labor along, and force outcomes in those spaces. And then there's a whole bunch of other things that we'll talk about in this session before we're complete. But this whole factor of gravity is not trusted in these United States. And so there's all these other interventions that are put in to move things along to accommodate the commodification, the medicalization of birthing, snatching it from the hands of nature, snatching it from the energy of gravity, and creating this other experience that doesn't necessarily align with our humanity. So drop in the chat if you, whether it's the Facebook thread or the Zoom chat, whether you can relate to what it is that I'm saying about these experiences that we have as BIPOC folk and as human beings in general in the United States, because everybody's impacted by what I just shared, the lack of gravity. So let's move forward to the next slide. And Cassie, welcome into the space. Cassie just gave birth to a new being. And I love that you're here, you know, and I pray that your feet are up and you're resting as you listen and tune in to this conversation. But I also thank you for being a partner in co-creating gravity for the birthing experiences of our people. When I say our people, I mean BIPOC folks, and also anyone that identifies as a birthing person in this space and beyond this space. Cassie is a doula and a teacher and has an organization that allows for folks to learn what they need to learn so that they can birth with gravity. So this next slide, the reason why I'm putting this up is because I feel like the opposite happens when we're in spaces where information is being shared. So I want to be explicit about what the invitation is in this space and inside of this conversation. And family, we are now at 38 folks in the Zoom space, asking you if you just arrived to meet yourself. And on Facebook, if we could drop in any updates about the number, we were at 11. And so let's keep inviting. My commitment is 50 plus people. So holistic learning and the approach. And then y'all can tell me why I'm starting this off or continuing with this foundation setting around learning and being in this space. So holistic learning, education with a holistic perspective is concerned with the development of every person's intellectual, emotional, social, physical, artistic, creative, and spiritual potentials. It seeks to engage participants in the teaching, learning process and encourages personal and collective responsibility. It requires that you bring your whole self to the learning environment. So if someone can tell me why I've included this slide and these statements in this session about birthing with gravity. Some of y'all know me and could probably go into why you think I did this. I do this a lot in spaces, and I'll explain later more in depthly why. But why would I include this slide about learning and learning holistically in a conversation about birthing with gravity? Anyone? And let's start with the admin, because folks, I think their brains are still kind of calibrating in the space. So Let's hear from Kinyofu or from Tiffany. And if you want to share why, you can raise your digital hand so we can have others. I see Adam too. So Kinyofu, can you start us off if you have a share? I don't want to force you. You can pass if you wish.
Yeah, sure. Well, we have multiple intelligences, and whether we are in school learning something or at home, identifying what to cook, but also when we're giving birth. And if we're grounded in all these areas, then we are more knowing in the space related to our body, and we can identify what it is we need and not feel at a deficit in any way.
Very beautiful, powerful. Thank you, partner, for sharing that. I appreciate you. We have Adam's hand that is up. So Adam.
Okay. Good morning, Shawnee.
Good morning.
I believe the reason why you brought that slide into your presentation is because in holistic development, it's all about making sure that the child is well developed versus society and the other systems that doesn't care about us, developed by children in a sense where they become very deficient or sick, and they also come up with illnesses, and you don't have the slightest idea of where it's coming from. So a holistic perspective gives the child a whole sense of being, of who may be or whatnot.
Thank
So
you.
I'm complete.
Thank you. Love it, love it, love it. I love that you're speaking about post-birthing after we arrive, but the learning begins in the womb, right? The voices we hear, the heartbeat that is just above our heads when we're in the womb space, the touch, if the birthing person engages. Sometimes because we've been taught that is all about our minds and what our minds, how my minds process and what we know in the form of what the educational system has taught us, or what we've heard through our families and our communities and conversation. We focus on that and we forget that there's a whole other or several other ways to learn and grow and evolve in these bodies and in this experience called life, being in the flesh. There's all these visceral experiences. And if we teach our children that it starts in the womb, and then once they emerge, it continues and it continues and it continues, then they can have an experience of a holistic life. But we're not necessarily taught that in this society in the United States. And so we miss out, and it impacts, if we choose to bring life in the world, how we negotiate in that space too. So I see two hands. I see Marilyn, I see Tanine, and I see Rachel. So Kinyofu, if you can manage, and I'd love to hear from each of them. So thank you.
Okay. Good morning, all. Blessings to all, and I'm really enjoying this conversation today. When I think about the holistics, and like you said, I feel like we all learn starting from the womb. Yes, from the heartbeat and everything. But I remember back in the day when they used to say, oh, if you play music to the belly, like classical music and stuff like that, like the baby starts learning from it, and it kind of gets their neurons working and connecting. But it's also good for the mother who, or the mother who's pregnant, to also kind of find her way, find a way to like educate herself on things that are happening while she's pregnant. And I feel like especially being in the education field, there's a lot of stuff that when these babies are brought in to the academic world, they're lacking, they're behind, they're delayed in certain things that we feel like it's easy to just sit down and just talk with your child, play with your child, even as small as they are, they're still learning. At 1 month, 2 month, One of the biggest games that you could play with your child to kind of relieve anxiety, separation anxiety, is playing peekaboo or hide and seek in the house. And it kind of gets them used to you separating from them for a little bit, but then showing that you're always going to reappear. So just little things like that prepare the child for the future. And I feel like sometimes we need to educate ourselves on things that can educate our child even from the womb. And even once they're out of the womb, it's not always about, I'll just put them on a tablet and watching educational videos. Those don't really work if there's no conversation behind it, if there's no interaction, if there's no playing with them. And I feel like learning, it goes from the moment they're conceived to the point of you're in your deathbed. I mean, you're always learning. You learn something new every single day. And I am complete.
Thank you, love, for the share. So robust and powerful, what you just put forth. And I also believe that our experiences from childhood and what we're taught or not taught impacts, if we so choose, how we co-create and bring new life in the world, and how we negotiate our bodies if we have a womb and we're able to conceive and move through a pregnancy, like how we navigate that pregnancy. We see it through what's modeled for us through family members who do that, who engage in that sacred rite of passage. And we experience it through the stories that are told or not told. So our preparatory process for bringing life into the world, if we choose it, because that's not the destiny for everyone. And I'm talking about co-creation, meaning those who identify as women and birthing people and those who support those folks, how we're conditioned around that journey and the conversations that are had or those that are absent actually determine whether we birth with gravity or not, right? It's a collective communal experience, and we're taught to individualize it and separate out community from that. Not everyone, but I'm just saying it's not explicitly taught that we're all in this together and we get what we get as a result. And that's why I'm here to have this conversation this morning, to restore order and to place gravity back where it belongs, literally and figuratively. So we have other hands. So let's hear from them.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for actually making that deposit. When you said restoring order, Shawnee, something happened. I was like, okay, like a clarity just came while we're here. So I think a holistic approach to life is like, it's essential and critical because we've shifted away from like our natural way of birthing, like the birthing culture we used to have, that we used to like, I guess, cultivate like the entire family. And we've shifted to like this counterfeit method that adversely impacts life overall. And I believe like it can transfer into generations who haven't been born yet. So when you ask the question, that was my thought. Like we need, like you said, to restore order, the holistic approach will help do that, because we're relearning and we're unlearning. And we're, I guess, approaching life from all aspects and not just the way that we're doing it now, which is, it's not working. So thank you, and I'm complete.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much, beloved, for that share. I'm in a constant state or space of unlearning and relearning, of tapping into some internal or primal, what do you call it, information and knowledge that's within me. A couple of days ago, I was sitting on the edge of my couch and just downloads. Wake Up Everybody is a product of a download from spirit, from me. And so when I got present to the fact that I am a conduit by which information, technology, not the one technology we learn from the world, like this laptop that I'm on, but the ancient technology of intuition, the ancient technology of spiritual knowledge and access that the ancestors are just waiting for us to realign ourselves with, so that our birthing experiences, so that our intimate partnerships, so that our familial engagement can be amplified and we can have full joy and quality of life. Like we have access to that, but we've cut off aspects like the antenna that help us to learn and grow holistically. And therefore we're operating from a deficit. And so therefore we're conceiving, moving through pregnancies for those of us who have been able to do that or are still able to do that, handicapped from this 1 or 2 dimensional experience. And it has an impact on our well-being. And so I'd love to hear from the next person. So thank you, Tanine and Marilyn, for starting us off.
Yeah, blessings, everybody. So good morning, Shawnee, and everybody else. When I think about learning from a holistic, I think about how I can approach something differently, right? I can make decisions when a doctor says, here, take this medication while you're pregnant. And I can say, well, I know I have the capability and the ability to learn, because I've learned holistically, and I know there is an approach maybe to add herbs into my diet opposed to medication, right? Because even the medication while the child's in the womb affects our child after birth. So taking Tylenol, all those things that they say you can do, you possibly shouldn't do, right? So maybe there's a tea that I can take. So when I think about what you're bringing to the table is just to learn how to treat your body in a more sensitive manner and really to nurture our child and ourselves to learn how to navigate pregnancy without society pushing on medication or different ways of doing things. And I am complete.
Ashe, thank you so much, Rachel, for that. There is, what's the name of the book? I can't think of the name of the book. And it's probably, Back to Eden. And it's been talked about in the Wake Up Space before by other facilitators. But I believe like everything that we need as far as our care for these bodies and minds and spirits exists in nature. But don't get me wrong, I think what exists in nature too are the people that can do the surgeries, the people that the innovations are downloaded into, the people that create devices like a laptop, like an iPhone, so that we can engage and have more of a world community where we communicate on a regular basis together, but on a basic level, restoring gravity that the earth produces without our interference, what we need to take care of ourselves holistically. And we've moved away from that. And because we once again have what we have, a lack of equilibrium and balance in the way that our bodies grow, in the way that our organs work, in the way that we move through the world. And therefore, the most natural experience, which is bringing new life in the world, has been complicated and compromised as a result of that, stepping away from the natural order. This book, Back to Eden, like if we moved back in that direction and operated more holistically, we'd have quality of life, right? And one of those things, Back to Eden, is conversation and storytelling, right? Sis, bro, however you identify, whatever your pronouns are, do you know your birthing story? Do you know your birthing story? Just drop it in the chat or the thread on Facebook or the chat in Zoom. And once again, we're at 40 participants in Zoom, 10 more to go to hit the mark, because I believe that gravity, me asking the question, me extending the invitation and believing in manifestation, that gravity can manifest what it is that we desire, which is more people in this conversation. So keep inviting. Keep inviting. It's 7:51. Somebody is just stretching and waking up and they're waiting for your invitation right now. So do you know your birth story? Drop in the chat, yes or no. And then Kinyofu, you can pick whomever might be interested in sharing, whether they know it or don't, and what the impact is.
Okay. In the meantime, while they are writing in the chat, do you want to hear the Facebook responses from?
Oh, absolutely. Definitely.
Okay. So Teresa Plaskett, she says, the current OB practices are really for provider convenience and the hospital's bottom line. Give Pitocin, speed things up, turn over beds, repeat like a factory line.
Ashe.
Gem in Facebook says holistic, and she spells it as WHOLE-ISTIC, holistic. Deals with the whole self, all aspects of ourselves, like slices of a pie. We're not taught to look at life as a whole. Instead, we live in a compartmentalized manner. And Teresa, oh no, I'm not sure who this person is, somebody from Facebook. They're agreeing with, oh, okay, got it.
Was my response.
Tiffany is agreeing with Teresa, saying birthing in hospitals is about turnover, even the stay afterwards. It used to be 3 to 4 days for vaginal, no complications, and 7 to 10 days for C-sections. Now they give you the boot ASAP.
So true. All righty. So we ready for some of the shares? Do you know your birthing story or not? And I'm sorry, let me clarify. Your birth story is like your birth, like you coming into the world, not the story of you giving birth to someone. Those are valuable too and need to be told because that baby or those babies need to know their stories too. Thank you, family. We're at 42 people in Zoom. Don't know how many for the Facebook space, but definitely want to hear some of these stories.
Okay, so Nigel has yes with the exclamation mark. I'd like to hear Nigel's birth story.
All right, she got like attitude with it. Bring it, Nigel.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, darling.
So I don't think you want to hear my birth story. Do you want to hear, because it's long, you know.
So I don't want to hear the whole story. I want to hear, you said you know it. What's the impact of you knowing it?
I'm not sure. My mother, from the time I could remember, from as far back as I could remember, on my birthday would wake me up and tell me this story.
Ah, yes.
And I do the same thing for my children. And I don't know the impact because it's always been with me. But I love hearing it. I love hearing the story, even though I know the story, but every year she tells it to me again. And I don't know the impacts. I've never thought about that because I've never not had it.
Wow. Yeah, I've never not had it. So thinking about the subject matter, which is birthing with gravity, and I all caps for the word with, right? Walk with us through it now. Does it provide gravity to know your birth story? Does it provide gravity to tell your children theirs?
Yes, it does.
And what has you say yes immediately?
Because when I think of gravity, I think about presence, I think about weight and importance, and it makes me feel important it gives me a sense of belonging. It definitely gives me a sense of pride and love. I feel covered. I felt, when I hear the story, I'm like, wow, y'all were waiting for me. Wow, everyone was gathered. It just gives me a sense of belonging and love. And when I tell it to my children, even though, I wake them up early on their birthdays and tell them the story, and, teenagers are like, oh God, we know this, but they listen and they listen as if something new is going to, be simply revealed. Yeah.
And what's coming up for you now as you unpack the impact of knowing and then sharing the practice and the ritual with your children, sharing their story, because it's been done for you so many years. What's coming up for you now?
The importance of ritual. And I never before now considered it a ritual. I just thought it was something we did.
Right.
Didn't think that. I almost feel like it's an invocation of the spirits and the ancestors when I retell this story, when I have it retold to me. Yeah, it's like a fire that gets aroused and stoked. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's almost like, you're reinvigorating or re-energizing something by the retelling of the story.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Like, I'm moved by how you're moved in this discovery in the moment. I love that we get a chance to witness you giving birth to a new relationship and context for the experience of your mother creating that ritual. And I'm not sure if the ritual was done for her. Do you know?
I don't, but I'm going to ask now.
Yeah. Thank you. And I'd love to know. So circle back and let me know if she also received that. Yeah, I'm like stirred up about it, Nija. Thank you.
So from Tiffany in Facebook, well, our Tiffany, she says, I know my story, and initially I did not think much about it, but now in my mature, and motherhood mind, I understand that this sacred teenage girl wanted me. She had options, but she chose me.
Ashe. I'm also thinking about those of us who have not been chosen, and the gravity or the weight of that, and the importance of knowing that. I'm a psychotherapist by training, and I start with the birthing stories, if they know whether they were preterm labor or if there was some issue, and we're taught to do that. But I go like deep with it because it's a metaphysical piece that I think is really, really important to talk about. I feel like I know that my mother transferred her depression and her anger and her guilt and her shame into me as she was carrying me, and that there was a deep level of unwanting or not wanting to be pregnant. And my mother tried to take her own life during the pregnancy with me. And for many years, I would say she tried to kill me, right? And then I did some deep work, psychodramatic work. That's something that I study, I practice. But in learning it, I had to also do my own deep work. And I discovered that she did not try to take me out, that she was attempting to remove herself. I just happened to be in the space, a bystander, and that shift in context was very, very helpful for my own growth and development, because growing up thinking that I was unwanted and that she was trying to kill me, that's a different context and has a different level of gravity than just recognizing that this young girl who was 15 years old felt like she had no other recourse, no other way out, but to try to take her own life. My mother struggled with depression, still does. And it gives me a level of groundedness to know that story, because some of us are deep in a depressive state. Some of us are confused. Some of us feel abandoned or disjointed from life. And if we only knew our birthing stories, it would help us to unpack some of that energy, because some dis-ease, imbalance, lack of equilibrium is passed down through the womb space and the wombs that came before that. And before that, there's something called epigenetics that has us pass down our trauma. It alters the DNA, it alters the brain wiring. Like, our experiences are really powerful, and we are conduits and tuning forks. And knowing the stories of our birthing experiences, the who, what, when, where, and why, are super important. And I also think that those who come together to co-create, whether it's intentional, I don't believe in accidents, or you have a lack of consciousness about who you co-create with. Like, when you come together and bring those lineages together, there's an impact and a synergistic impact that occurs. And if we don't know these things, we're kind of flailing in the dark as it relates to certain aspects of our being. So family, we're at 44 participants in Zoom, not sure how many on Facebook, super grateful, 6 more to go before we reach 50. Y'all create that with me. Let's reach 50 in the Zoom space or beyond, so that we can have more community in this conversation. So Kenyofu, we ready to move on? I don't know if there are hands raised or things that have been shared in the chat since I've shared the last several things that I shared.
Yeah, there's her hand. Teresa has had her hand up since the last question
Yes.
before last. I'm not sure if she has an answer current.
All right, no problem.
Teresa?
Yes, hi, peace and blessing. Good morning, Shawnee.
Good morning.
Glad to see you.
You too.
Turn my camera on. My fingers are not working, and I just want to say my mom's name, then I answer the question. I'm Teresa Lorraine Scott. I'm the mother of Margaret Louise Scott, and the word that I got for the first word was healing and longevity. My birthing story is that I was born fast. My mother said she said that they had to rip her. She had her fancy clothes on, and I came 7 months, and she said they had to rip her clothes off, and she was very angry about that. And so she had to get her clothes cut off, so I could be born. And so what came to me was that when I was in the crib, my father was watching over me, and for some reason it just made me start crying because I missed that watching over. And it's like, because of knowing my birth story, it's like I've always missed, I felt like I missed my dad watching over me because he saw that I was blind when I was a baby. And so he told the doctors that, I couldn't see because they have this thing that they do, that they put their finger in front of your eyes. And so it just came to me is that I've been thinking that missing, that watching over from my dad for a while. And I was just shocked that it happened, when you was talking about it. And so I need to talk with him, like, Dad, I miss, you watching over me, like you used to do as a baby. And I've been seeking that watching over for a while. And thank you, Shawnee, for this conversation, because sometimes you don't know what you're missing. And I've been missing like that kind of watching over me. Like, he was so busy watching over me that he knew that I was not able to see, not able to see. And I feel like that sometimes affects me as a person, because I'm so looking for that watching over all the time that doesn't let me walk in the place where I need to walk. And I'm complete.
Ashe, thank you so much for sharing. Even though you were talking about your relational dynamics with your dad and the absence, I was thinking about the actual theme for today, and it's all connected. But the birthing with gravity piece, we can't if we're not being watched over adequately when we're preparing to conceive. Like, we don't often engage. Maybe some of you have, and I stand corrected for those who have, but I didn't plan for any of my pregnancies. I don't feel like I was watched over by family. I was actually scrutinized and spied on and accused of things when I was a very young girl, before they were even actually happening. Like, there was this projection onto me. So the watching over was from a posture of suspicion, judgment, and I'm trying to think of the word, disdain, I would say. And so thinking about also being pregnant, for those of us who have had that experience, do you feel like you were being watched over in the way that Sister Teresa just declared, being watched over, having hands laid on you, being asked if you're hungry or if your feet hurt or what do you need? Did you experience that? Because our birthing with gravity or not being able to is impacted by how we're treated. At the very top of the session, for those who were in the space, I asked when you were born and where you were born. And this is part of the work that I do with my Rites of Passage program, Be the Tree. We go through this whole unpacking exploration around our womb journeys and our birthing experiences. And so I'm curious about when you were born and where you were born, because I was born in 1968. During that year, there were assassinations. One of the most powerful beings on the planet was killed, Martin Luther King. So I came inside of a space of a lot of civil unrest and persecution for those who identified as Black and Brown. And just imagine being born during those times. So yeah, I mean, that's big. So the year of your birth, the decade of your birth, what was going on in the world, what songs were being played, what language was being used, like vernacular, what the house situation or the living environment was for your people, when your mom or the birthing person that brought you into the world was carrying you, did they have enough to eat? Was it a happy time, you being conceived and being carried, or was there scrutiny and judgment? Were you the product of an affair? Was the birthing person that brought you into the world, were they the mistress or the lover on the side? Like all of these things determine whether there's gravity inside of the ritual of bringing you into the world or carrying you in the womb space. So Kenyofo, I'm curious and open to hearing what's out there as a result of what I just said.
The chat has paused. There are some comments from something you said maybe about 4 or 5 minutes ago.
That's cool. That works. And I'm sure people will have their hands up too. So we'll see where we land.
Okay. So let me take that back a little bit. And so Wendy from Facebook says she just came in as you were relating her birth story of her mother's attempt to abort her. And Liat Ron says, my mom told me haphazardly only a few years ago that she was left in the hallway post-birth and was found there bleeding right before it was too late. It was like, yeah, I almost lost my life after giving birth to you.
Thank you.
So Tiffany says, wow, Shawnee, you were judged and convicted of crimes, quote, before you even thought about doing the crime, quote.
Yeah, and I don't consider it a crime, me being sexually open, free, and expressed, but the way that the adults operated, and I get why that is, and I'll say a little bit about that before we close out. But yeah, but the adults, especially the women that I grew up with, were made to feel so ashamed of who they were as sexual and reproductive beings that they projected that onto us. And then think about me, I'm 54, and then my grandmother, she had my mother when she was 17. My mother had me when she was 15. My grandmother had my mother when she was 17. And then I'm thinking about my great grandmother. I think she had my grandmother when she was like 19. And not saying anything is wrong or bad about those things, but just thinking about the generations and the time that they were in. So being in a Black body and identifying as a woman was viewed as something to be ashamed of, something that wasn't as valuable as being white. You know, thinking about my mother is a lighter skinned woman, but my grandmother and my great grandmother were darker skinned women, and just the value or lack of value that was projecting onto them. Lots of layers there. And my grandmother had disdain from my mother. I believe part of it was because my mother was lighter skinned and physically striking and beautiful, even though they looked exactly alike, just a light skinned version and a dark skinned version. And my grandmother's own shame and the abuse she faced from her own mother, it just kept perpetuating itself. And so my mother perpetuated that, especially against me and my sister. She had 3 boys and 2 girls, and the girls would catch it from my mother. We were almost competitors with her as opposed to her daughters. And so a lot of layers to that. And it's hard to birth with gravity when you are living in a world where white supremacy dominates and also racism is the order of the day and baked into everything that you experience as far as systems and life negotiation. Even when everybody around you identifies as BIPOC, which is once again shorthand for Black, Indigenous, person of color, you still experience the impact of white supremacy culture coming through Black bodies. So I see hands are up. So if you would, Kenyofo, take us where we need to go in reference to that. Hello, Desiree, miss you, baby. You're on mute, love.
I'm mute. Sorry, same here, same here. I always feel like I always come into this moment, into this space in the moment exactly when I need it, always.
Hey, yes.
So my story is a little different. Like, no, I don't know the story of my birth. But that's because the person that has the ability to share the story with me, I lost my mom when I was young. And it wasn't like lost to death that I know of. Like, she is literally lost. Like, no one knows where she is. She just disappeared one day. She called my grandmother on the phone and said, I'm on my way. And she just never showed. And just listening to this story makes me think about feelings that I have and how related those feelings are to that one situation. Not having a relationship with the person that birthed me, not being able to have access to the person that can tell me what she was experiencing while I was in her womb. And some of the things that came to mind, I know this kind of goes back to what you were asking before, like what gravity means. To me, it's like, if it makes me think about being grounded, being held, and listening to what you were saying and connecting to other people's stories helped me understand why I often had the feeling of being alone. Because that cord, once it was cut, it was almost like I never had the opportunity to maintain the connection because that person was, ripped from me. So I always felt that sense of loss of connection, the loss of belonging to someone. Because, it's like, that's how we feel about our children. Like, we feel like they belong to us, like they are a part of who we are. And I think because I never had the access to having that connection to my mom, it made it very difficult for me to identify when it was being given to me. When someone was offering the connection, because I don't know how to identify it.
Understood.
Right, because it's like a foreign thing to me. So having this conversation kind of forced me to look at moments when it was being offered to me, which will help me be able to identify it in the future. And that will kind of like help me have a better connection with the people that are trying to connect to me.
Beautiful. You know what I love? Thank you so much for all that you shared. And I invite you to speak the name of your mother into the space. There's this concept of she's lost. Like what we speak into the space and feed